What if the most famous warrior angel in Christianity never fought for his own glory? Saint Michael appears only a handful of times in the Bible. Yet every appearance comes at a decisive moment, a delayed answer to prayer, a time of unparalleled distress, a mysterious dispute over the body of Moses, and a war in heaven. But one sentence reveals the true source of his power, and most Catholics read past it. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what Saint Michael did in Scripture, what the Bible never says about him, and why his brief words in the letter of Jude may be more important than every sword, shield, and statue created in his honor. We will follow 4 biblical appearances. First, Michael enters a conflict that has delayed an angelic messenger for 21 days. Second, he stands as guardian when history reaches a time of extraordinary distress. Third, he confronts the devil over the body of Moses, but refuses to pronounce judgment by his own authority. Finally, he leads the heavenly armies against the dragon in Revelation. The surprising answer is not simply that Michael is powerful. Scripture presents him as powerful precisely because he is completely ordered toward God. If you want carefully researched stories about Catholic saints and biblical mysteries without exaggeration, subscribe, and let us open the Scriptures together. The first great mystery begins in Daniel, chapter 10. Daniel has been mourning and fasting for 3 weeks. On the bank of the Tigris River, he receives a terrifying vision. A heavenly messenger tells him that his prayer was heard from the very first day. Then why did the answer take 21 days? The messenger says that the prince of the kingdom of Persia opposed him until Michael, described as one of the chief princes, came to help. This is not a battle between human generals. Daniel presents a spiritual conflict connected with earthly kingdoms. Catholic biblical notes explain that these princes are understood as angelic guardians associated with nations. Michael comes within a mission directed by God. His action allows the messenger to continue and explain what will happen to Daniel's people. Here is the detail many Catholics miss. Daniel chapter 10 does not call Michael the only chief prince. It calls him one of the chief princes. Scripture gives him an exalted role, but it never turns him into a rival to God. Near the end of the chapter, the messenger calls Michael your prince, linking him especially with the protection of Daniel's people. Even Michael's name points away from himself. The Hebrew name is commonly understood as a question: who is like God? The implied answer is no one. That is the first fact. Michael appears as a heavenly protector who helps a divine mission move forward when unseen resistance has delayed it. But his next appearance raises the stakes. Michael will no longer be connected only with one delayed message. He will stand at a moment of suffering unlike anything Daniel's people have known. What happens when the conflict reaches its darkest hour? Daniel chapter 12 opens with Michael arising as the great prince and guardian of the people. The passage describes a time of distress without precedent. Yet it also promises deliverance for those found written in the book. The vision immediately moves toward resurrection. Some who sleep in the dust awaken to everlasting life, while others rise to disgrace. Those who lead many to justice shine like stars. Michael is therefore placed beside one of the Old Testament's clearest visions of final deliverance and resurrection. But notice what he does not do. He does not replace God as judge. He does not decide whose name is written in the book. He stands as guardian within God's saving plan. Catholic devotion does not treat angels as independent powers. The Catechism describes them as spiritual servants and messengers whose mission points toward God's will. Michael is not an isolated champion building his own kingdom. He protects the people who belong to God. Daniel also refuses to give the audience a timetable they can control. The chapter contains symbolic periods, but its message warns against pretending to calculate the exact date of divine judgment. The proper response is patience, faithfulness, and hope. That is the second fact. Michael stands as guardian when God's people face extreme distress, but salvation and resurrection remain the work of God. And that leads to the strangest appearance of all. There is no army, no visible battlefield, and no triumphant speech. There is only a dispute over a body and a lesson in humility. The letter of Jude contains only one chapter. Hidden inside it is one of the most mysterious lines in the New Testament. Jude says that Michael the Archangel disputed with the devil over the body of Moses. Deuteronomy says Moses died and was buried, but the location of his grave was not known. Jude refers to a later tradition about a dispute surrounding his body, without explaining why it occurred. That silence matters. Many dramatic retellings fill the scene with speeches, weapons, and elaborate motives. Scripture does not. Instead, Jude focuses on Michael's response. Although he is the archangel, Michael does not pronounce an insulting judgment on his opponent. He says, "May the Lord rebuke you." This may be the most important thing Michael does in the Bible. He confronts evil without imitating its arrogance. He does not speak as though ultimate judgment belongs to him. He appeals to the Lord. Jude uses Michael as a contrast to false teachers who insult realities they do not understand. If even an archangel refuses reckless and prideful speech, how much more should human beings practice humility? Biblical strength is not loudness, uncontrolled anger, or the desire to appear powerful. Michael's authority is disciplined because it is received, not self-created. The detail most Catholics miss is therefore not the identity of the weapon in Michael's hand. The Bible never describes one here. The essential detail is the authority in his words. The Lord rebukes. Michael serves. That is the third fact. In the Bible's most mysterious scene involving Michael, his greatness is revealed through restraint, obedience, and trust in God's judgment. But one final vision transforms the quiet dispute into a cosmic conflict. Revelation chapter 12 contains the image that shaped centuries of Christian art. War breaks out in heaven. Michael and his angels battle the dragon and its angels. The dragon is identified as the ancient serpent, the devil, and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. The dragon does not prevail. It is cast down, and heaven announces that salvation, power, and the kingdom belong to God and to his anointed. This inspired countless images of Michael standing over the dragon. Yet the Bible does not describe his armor, wings, or sword. Those details belong largely to artistic tradition. Revelation is interested in something deeper. Immediately after Michael's victory, the heavenly hymn explains how the faithful conquer the accuser, through the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. The center of Revelation is not Michael. It is Christ, the Lamb. Michael leads the angels, but the decisive victory belongs to God and to Christ. This is the same pattern we saw in Jude. Michael acts with enormous authority, yet that authority never becomes independent from the Lord. Pope Benedict XVI summarized two roles visible in these biblical texts. Michael defends the oneness of God against the dragon's pride, and he defends the dignity of God's people against the accuser. That insight explains why Michael's name is itself a challenge to evil. Who is like God? The dragon's temptation is always to seize what belongs to God. Michael's entire identity answers that no creature is equal to the Creator. Spiritual warfare is not permission to see supernatural attacks behind every difficulty. Revelation directs our attention toward fidelity to Christ, obedience to God, and courageous testimony. That is the fourth fact. Michael fights the dragon and leads the heavenly angels, but Scripture places the victory within the saving work of God and the Lamb. Now the full pattern becomes visible. In Daniel, Michael helps and protects. In Jude, he shows restraint. In Revelation, he fights. In every case, he serves. That is what Saint Michael did in the Bible, and that is what most Catholics miss. Which appearance of Saint Michael surprised you most? The delayed messenger in Daniel, the guardian in the time of distress, the dispute over Moses, or the battle against the dragon? Write one word in the comments: messenger, guardian, Moses, or dragon. If this video helped you separate Scripture from later artistic tradition, press like so more viewers can discover the biblical story. Share it with someone who prays the Saint Michael prayer or wants to understand spiritual warfare without fear or exaggeration. And subscribe for more carefully researched saint stories, Catholic mysteries, and lives of the saints. God bless you and welcome home. But there is another Catholic story in which familiar images can hide the most important details. In 1917, 3 shepherd children near Fatima, Portugal, reported a series of Marian apparitions. The story became associated with 3 secrets: a vision, a request concerning Russia, and an event witnessed by a vast crowd. Yet many Catholics misunderstand what the 3 secrets actually said, when each part became public, and what the Church officially concluded. In the next video, we will separate the children's recorded testimony from decades of speculation. We will examine the first 2 secrets, the long-disputed third part, and the detail Sister Lucia insisted people kept interpreting incorrectly. What really happened at Fatima may be more challenging, and more hopeful, than the popular version.